Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Environment Sustainability Committee meeting number 4 of 2022 on the 5th of May. Check a councillors' attendance. All committee members are here. We have no apologies. We'll commence with acknowledgement of country. Ipswich City Council respectfully acknowledges the traditional owners as custodians of the land upon which we meet. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, as the keepers of the traditions, cultures and stories of a proud people. Do we have any declarations of interest in matters on the agenda? No. There is no business outstanding. We'll move to confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. Confirmation of minutes of the Environment Sustainability Committee meeting number 3 of 2022 held on the 7th of April. Thank you, Councillor Fechner. We have a seconder. Councillor Madsen, thank you. There was only one item on that agenda, being the EnviroPlan Program and Levy Progress Report 2020 to 2021. I would like to just mention to the committee that I have personally received a very good response from community with regards to that, and particularly as it's in the last couple of days been highlighted in council's media, that there's been a very favourable response. Does any other council wish to speak to that? No? Then I'll put the motion. Those in favour? It's unanimous and carried. Item 2 for today is recognising emergency services volunteers during National Volunteer Week 2022. And this is a report concerning Council's recognition of disaster and emergency volunteers during National Volunteer Week in May. Volunteerism assists in developing a caring, equitable society, and all volunteers should be commended for their contribution. The recommendation is that the report be received and the contents noted. I'll call forward the appropriate council officer. That's okay.
And Environment and Local Disaster Coordinator.
Thank you, Mr. Madigan. I note that there's a brief bit of background within the report, but as we are speaking with regards specifically to emergency services volunteers,
yes.
May I ask you to just provide some detail to the committee and to the general public with regards to some data with regards to the state emergency service?
Yes, certainly. So a lot of the community won't be aware that the SES and the Rural Fire Service play a significant part in the council's response to disasters. A lot of people also aren't aware that those are staffed by volunteers from our community who have day jobs and give up their time to come and support their community in the time of need. The SES in Ipswich in particular, so if we look at the 2022 floods, some of the work that they did to assist us and the community in there was incredible and saved lives. As you're also aware, there was a fatality from an SES volunteer during those floods as well, who unfortunately passed away whilst attempting to launch a vessel to go and rescue members of the community. During our response to it, in particular in Ipswich, they were out responding to community requests for assistance. They were door knocking, telling people that their houses were going to be inundated and they needed to evacuate. They were doing that at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, yet again volunteering in their own time. Rural Fire Service likewise did the same. So whatever is required of them to help the community, they step up and they do that. And as you all know, they're all very humble. They don't seek the recognition for what they do. But it is something that the city of Ipswich, could not adequately respond and look after our community in times of need without these volunteers in particular. So, for example, just so people get an appreciation, SES tasks this calendar year predominantly were from the 2022 floods. Was a total of 1,293 tasks, and the total hours that they've put into it is 11,018, and that's this calendar year. And as I said, that's predominantly all volunteering. So this is fairly unprecedented time for them, but the SES will be on show at the upcoming Ipswich show. They will be looking for volunteers, so if there's any community members that are interested in volunteering and getting understanding of what the SES actually do, go and approach them at the Ipswich show, have a chat around what they do. The things that they do are incredible. They're diverse. They provide significant training to their troops as well, in all manner of rescue and community service. So as a council, we wanted to take this opportunity to recognise them, and by lighting up 1 Nicholas Street for Volunteer Week, and also to highlight the need for more volunteers in the SES in particular, and the presence at the show, and we will have a presence with the disaster management as well, so I have a conversation there. But I can't encourage people enough to firstly have a chat to the SES or anyone you know in the SES and understand what they do, and how significant it is, and how interesting it is, and also to consider volunteering some of their time to give back to the community, because as I said, without the likes of the Rural Fire Service or the SES, the council and the state government would be unable to respond to disasters in the manner in which we do, and I think it was pretty effective the way that we responded in the recent floods. So that's it. There has been some conversation around at some stage we should get around and do something for those that assisted us during the 2022 flood, and I think the chair of this committee might have had some ideas as to what that could be.
Thank you, Mr. Madigan. I do note membership of volunteer organisations fluctuates, waxes and wanes, hits a peak and then falls away at various times. The current membership of Ipswich City SES?
Certainly. The last quarterly report put it at a membership of 203 active members, and that was at 21 January 2022, which is down 30 from the previous reporting quarter. So if you think about what I've just spoken about with the volume of calls that they responded to, and you're talking about 200 volunteers, it's an incredible effort.
Yes. I know particularly discussing the event with impacted members of our community, that they are, when they see the Orange Angels arrive, it is always a welcoming sight, and that the number of hours and the consistent hours that particularly the frontline members of those units put in, as you rightly say, most importantly preservation of life and then safeguarding property after that, that they undertook. So for those 203 members in total, that's a very small number when you consider the size of the city of Ipswich, geographically, as well as the number of residents we had impacted, and that in terms of recruitment for any of the our emergency services is not something that is onwards rolling throughout the year. They train very diligently for the tasks that they undertake. So at any opportunity that we can highlight that more volunteers are always needed, then yeah, that's something that we must do.
Certainly.
Does any member of committee have any questions for the officer? No? Thank you, Mr. Madigan. I'll just point out to committee that particularly this year, it was mentioned by Mr. Madigan that National Volunteer Week falls between the 16th and 22nd of May. And as a step to recognise the vital work of volunteers and say thank you, Wear Orange Wednesday falls within this week, on Wednesday the 18th of May. People are encouraged to wear orange to work or school or wherever, and demonstrate as a demonstration of thanks to our SES volunteers who generously give their time to their community, and that during that week, as a show of thanks, that 1 Nicholas Street here, the building, will be shown in orange for that week. That's the least we can do. I have been considering something in particular that we could show as recognition and thanks personally to those members of our emergency services who responded on behalf of our community during the 2022 flood event. We'll probably follow that up in follow-up meetings with the local disaster management group, possibly a personalised letter of thanks to each volunteer, or something that may be more fitting to express our thanks. So the recommendation of the report is that the report be received in the contents noted. Do I have a mover? Councillor Kunzmann, seconder. Thank you, Mayor Harding. I'd also, before I put the motion, just point out that Council is committed to promoting a resilient community that can prevent, prepare for, respond to and recover from the impacts of disaster. This includes taking advantage of opportunities to recognise and promote volunteering in the community, particularly those emergency service volunteers who provide vital frontline emergency response and recovery services to the Ipswich community. I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Can we move on to discussion, please?
Oh, beg my pardon, I thought I had. No. I was too busy talking. Yes, ma'am?
Well, we couldn't discuss it until we moved in second. So thank you for this. And obviously as the chair of the local disaster management group, and in this group he, Councillor Milligan as the second deputy and Councillor Kunzmann as the first deputy of the LDMG. We've seen firsthand with the Springfield hailstorm, with the Halloween hailstorm, which did go out to Rosewood, Thurgoona as well, but also with the floods, we've seen firsthand the work of the Orange Angels, the SES and the RFDS. They were out, like Mr Madigan said, 2 or 3 in the morning from Goodna to 1 mile, door knocking and letting people know what was happening. But their tremendous efforts to save people's lives blew my mind. And whenever you see them out there in the boats, and whether it's in the underpass at Goodna, it's always a smile. It's always no complaining. It's just all hands on deck to help everyone. I've been in discussions with council officers to do a thank you for the SES and RFDS, so perhaps we could discuss that as the chair of the LDMG, and just like I did with the Halloween hailstorm, to send a letter of thanks to volunteers and a few other things. So I wouldn't mind having a chat on how we can do that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. Any other member of the committee like to speak? No? Then I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous and carried. We have no notices of motion nor matters arising, so I'll close the meeting at 11:47. And would we have a break for lunch prior to the next meeting, or will we have the next committee in 10 minutes? What's the feeling? Lunch, okay. We'll go for next committee to commence at 12:30. Thank you, everyone.